any preliminary matters for my consideration?
Your Honor, I would ask for a mutual sequestration order with an exception for the officer in charge who is seated to my left. That's Officer Christopher Weitzel. He'll be the first witness that I call this morning.
No objection, Judge.
Okay, thank you. The order of sequestration is in place. The exception is granted. If there are no other preliminary matters, the people may call their first witness.
Your Honor, I do have some exhibits that I believe come in without stipulation pursuant to the new preliminary exam rules. People's proposed exhibit number 1 is the autopsy report as it relates to Makiah Jackson.
Okay, thank you. It's coming in.
Exhibit number 2 is the autopsy report as it relates to Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Exhibit number 3 is the CDR, or the crash data retrieval, that was performed by Detective Sergeant Lucidi from the Michigan State Police. Exhibit number 4 is the certified copy of the defendant's driving record.
Your Honor, as to exhibits 1, 2, and 4, no objection. And in fact, I agree. I'm sorry, as to exhibits 1 and 2, they come in. I'm not sure about 3 in the absence of the witness. I don't know if they're calling the witness.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Mr. Barnett.
If they're not calling the witness, Your Honor, we would object as to people for a foundation. And with respect to exhibit 4, if we do not have no objection as to, we would object to the contents of exhibit 4. We'd ask the people for a foundation as to 3 and 4. The exhibit 4 I'm particularly concerned about, Your Honor, because it places a criminal record of the defendant, a description of offenses that he may or may not have committed, and I don't believe that that should be properly admitted into evidence in the case. As for exhibit 3, I do believe, I think they need a witness here. Other than that, I have no objection.
Okay, on behalf of the people in response.
Judge, as it relates to exhibit number 3, which is the CDR, the crash data retrieval that was prepared by Detective Sergeant Lucidi, I would direct the court to the new preliminary exam rules that indicate, except for police investigative reports, a report prepared by a law enforcement officer or other public agency, and then it goes on to indicate reports permitted under this section include, but are not limited to, a report of the findings of a technician of the Division of the Department of the State Police concerned with forensic science. I would submit that this is a report that is prepared pursuant to that, and it was prepared by Detective Sergeant Lucidi, who is with the Michigan State Police Department, so I believe it comes in without his testimony. I again move for admission of people's proposed exhibit number 3.
And it does, pursuant to the new preliminary examination rules. With respect to the proposed exhibit number 4?
As it relates to exhibit number 4, I don't have any objection if the court wants to just cut it in half, or if defense counsel would stipulate that the defendant did not have a valid license back on the date in question. The top part of it is all just part of why he didn't have a driver's license, but that's really what I'm seeking to admit is just the certified copy of the fact that he doesn't have a driver's license.
Mr. Barnett?
The defense will stipulate and agree for purposes of this exam that he did not have a valid driver's license at all and could not lawfully operate a vehicle, and I'd ask that the court do not need admission of 4 given the stipulation.
Okay, well, given the stipulation, there's no need to admit exhibit number 4, and so we won't have that one admitted, but 1, 2, and 3 are admitted.
Thank you. Moving on then to people's proposed exhibit number 5. It's a certified copy of the medical records for Zaire.
Okay.
It
Zaire's
comes
last name?
Gardner, Gardner. It deals with his admittance to St. John's Hospital on the date in question. People's exhibit number 6 is an update from the University of Michigan CS Mount Children's Hospital Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, just speaking about his condition as it relates to his transfer from St. John's to CS Mount Children's Hospital, dated July 9th, 2015. People's exhibit number 7 is a certified copy of medical records for Darius, D-A-R-I-U-S, Andrews, A-N-D-R-E-W-S, from St. John Medical Center. Exhibit number 8 is the certified copy of medical records for Isaiah Williams. Proper spelling Isiah Williams, Williams. Again, as it relates to this particular date in question. And exhibit number 9, the certified copy of medical records for Frazier Reese, and that's Frazier Reese. Again, as it relates to this particular case.
Your Honor, given the admissions of those documents and the hope of both the defendant and the prosecutor that the record be clear, the defense would have no objection if the people chose to summarize those documents for the record. We have no dispute as to any of them. If that would assist them, I want the record to be clear. If that will assist them in going through it without having to go through a detailed recitation of their comments. Within their discretion, Your Honor. I'm not trying to take them out of their proofs.
Certainly. In terms of the medical records, when the appropriate time comes for the bind over, I'll just sort of summarize what they are. But I think that for purposes of what the defendant is charged with, particularly as it relates to counts 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I have to establish that there was in fact a serious impairment of the bodily function. And I think that those medical records fairly and accurately show that. So I do want them admitted in their entirety, but for purposes of the bind over, I'll argue what is within those as it relates to the serious impairment.
Your Honor, we would stipulate that the victims in this particular case did in fact suffer a serious impairment of the bodily function.
Okay, thank you. That will be the stipulation for purposes of examination. Okay. Any other preliminary matters?
I don't think so, Judge. I think that about wraps it up for in terms of stipulation. People would move to call their first witness.
You may do so.
People would call Christopher Weitzel.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Please throw the microphone all the way in to you. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you tell us your name, please?
Detective Christopher Weitzel,
And how are you employed?
Detroit Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer for?
Approximately 16 years.
And what is your current assignment?
Fatal Squad Unit.
How long have you worked with the Fatal Squad unit?
Approximately 7 years.
And back on June 24th, 2015, were you called to the location of at or near 5245 Nottingham?
Yes, I was.
And what was the purpose in going to that location?
Motor vehicle crash.
And do you recall approximately what time it was when you arrived at that location?
It was in the evening, probably somewhere around 8:30 or so.
And when you arrived at that location, what was your purpose in going there?
For crash investigation purposes.
And were you in charge of the scene?
Yes, I was.
When you went to that location, were there other officers with the Detroit Police Department's Fatal Squad that went with you?
Yes, there was.
And are you in charge of directing them to do certain things at that location?
It's a cooperating effort between us.
Now, in terms of that location, what, if anything, did you see when you arrived?
I approached and immediately saw a later model Camaro with extreme front end damage. Also directly in front of it was a deck or a front porch that had been demolished in a collision. I noticed a parked van in the driveway of that location that also had front end damage. And as I walked down the crime scene, I also saw several demolished bushes, and I could see that the grass had been torn up.
Now, in terms of the work that was done at the scene, are you familiar with the total station?
Yes, I am.
What is a total station?
It's an instrument that uses a laser beam to accurately measure and map evidence.
And when you're measuring and mapping evidence, are we talking about things that are found at the scene?
That's correct.
And is this total station used specifically for crash investigations?
It is used specifically for that, yes.
Now, once the information is you said that a laser is used to gain the information or to mark out certain areas, is that right?
That's correct.
Does it then put together a scene sketch or a sketch of what those measurements are?
Yes, it does. You'll be able to put it into software, and it'll see, and you'll be able to indicate where all the points of measurement were to scale relative to the scene.
And was that done in this case?
Yes, it was.
And showing you what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit number 13, have you had an opportunity to view this document before today?
Yes, I did.
What is this that we're looking at in People's Proposed Exhibit number 13?
This is a standard basic sketch, scale drawing of the crime scene that was generated using the total station.
And does that scene sketch fairly and accurately portray what that scene looked like that evening on June 24th, 2015?
Yes, it does.
Move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit number 14?
No objection.
13, I'm sorry, 13.
Then it is admitted.
Thank you. Can I go back, please? Now, in terms of this particular sketch, are there some markings on here, and may I just sort of overlook over the shoulder so you can see what I'm talking about here? Are there some marks on here that indicate driveway, driveway, driveway?
Yes, there are.
And what does that represent?
And each address of a home that the vehicle passed by.
And is there a street that's located on here as well, or that's listed on here?
Yes, there is.
What street is that?
That was Frankfurt and Nottingham.
All right, and does this represent the intersection of what purports to be Nottingham and Frankfurt?
Yes, it does.
And there's a line that's written on here to the left of what purports to be the driveway, is that right?
That's correct.
And what does that line designate?
That indicates the path of the vehicle through those driveways.
And then there's a couple of addresses on here, is that right?
That's correct.
For the record, 5219 and 5245 Nottingham, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
All right. And then there's a couple of vehicles on there as well, is that right?
That's correct.
And what do those vehicles represent?
One of them is the Camaro, the one in the front of the porch area, and the other one was the vehicle parked in the driveway at the time.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes, you may.
Any people, exhibit number 15. Now, in terms of the scene, were some photographs taken?
Yes, there were.
I'm showing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit number 11. Could you take a look at those for me, please? Have you had an opportunity to review people's proposed exhibit number 11?
Yes.
Are these some of the photographs that were taken at the scene back on the 24th of June?
Yes, they were.
Do they fairly and accurately portray what the scene looked like when you were there on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit number 11.
No objection.
And they are admitted.
Thank you. Can you see the monitor, sir?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'm going to put some pictures up here and ask you just to describe what we're looking at for the record. If you would, please.
Sir, could it be positioned in such a way that the defendant can see it and I can see it without, that's fine right
Good.
there.
Can you still see it?
No, I can't see it.
How about there?
Yep. I
Good.
can see.
Can
Yes, I
everybody
can
see
see
it?
it there.
Okay.
Can you see it? We're fine, Your Honor.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Showing you the third picture in this exhibit. What are we looking at here?
That appears to be Nottingham, and we're seeing some tire tracks that had gone over the grass at that point where the vehicles left the roadway.
Now, this photograph, is this Nottingham that would be where the police cars are in this general area here?
Yes.
So this would be Nottingham facing north?
Yes, it would.
And is this the sidewalk area here?
Yes, it is.
And is this what's being photographed? Is this dirt, what appears to be tire tracks?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, for the record, as to that exhibit, I know it's generally marked as exhibit number 10, I suppose, or whatever it is.
Number 11.
I had asked if, for purposes of the record, if they can identify that as a subsection of perhaps 11A or something like that for the record, if there's no objection to that.
I have no objection with that. I'll just write it on the back of the photograph.
Okay,
and keep
please
a-
do so.
I'll keep a separate folder with the exhibits that have been marked and admitted in this particular case.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Now, moving on to 11B. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at a sidewalk that is paralleling with Nottingham, and we're seeing demolished grass with tire tracks leading up to it.
Looking at this particular object here as well as this one that's down here, what are those?
They appear to be, I can't see it completely, but it appears to be rocks.
All right, and then what's in the middle here? Could you just describe that for the record?
Grass that has been turned up by a vehicle tire with dirt on the sidewalk.
Moving on to 11C. What are we looking at here generally?
We're looking at skid marks on the sidewalk.
And I want to direct your attention to what's down here towards the end of the block. Do you know what, if this is Nottingham, what street corner is this?
That would be Frankfurt.
All right, and you indicated that there's these marks in the middle of the sidewalk, is that right?
That's correct.
How long have you been assigned to Fatal Squad for?
Approximately 7 years.
And during that time, approximately how many crash investigations have you been a part of?
Approximately 800.
And in your experience, what are those marks in the middle of the sidewalk indicative of?
Those are definitely motor vehicle tire tracks.
Showing you 11D. What are we looking at here?
Also another tire track in the middle of the sidewalk.
And is this again south of what would be Frankfurt and the corner of Frankfurt and Nottingham?
Yes, that's just south of Frankfurt.
Showing you 11E. What are we looking at here?
Also just south of Frankfurt, another tire track on the sidewalk.
To your knowledge, is this corner or this intersection of Frankfurt and Nottingham, is that a four-way stop?
Yes, it is, I believe so.
Showing you for the record 11F. What are we looking at here?
A displaced rock that's in the middle of the street that appeared to have been displaced from the grass area.
Showing you 11G. What are we looking at here?
Also just south of Frankfurt, and we can still see some tire tracks in the middle of the sidewalk there.
Showing 11H.
That is right at the intersection of Frankfurt and Nottingham.
zoom into this particular photograph and direct your attention to this object that's in the middle of the street. It would be in Frankfurt, just north of Nottingham. What is that?
From what I can tell from the photo, it appears to be a vehicle component.
Showing you 11I. What are we looking at here?
Also the intersection of Frankfurt and Nottingham. And we're seeing more demolition in the grass area there.
11J.
That's right at the intersection of Frankfurt and Nottingham, facing north. And I can see some demolished grass and things like that in the street there.
I'm going to direct your attention now to what would be the bottom right-hand corner, to the left-hand corner of the exhibit. Can you tell what those are there?
It appears to possibly be sign components from a broken sign, maybe.
Okay. Showing 11K. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the front of one of the homes with, you can see some vehicle components, some debris.
I'm going to direct your attention to this area here, and I can zoom it in or I can bring you the photograph itself. Can you tell me what that is? You can't tell from there, but
It looks like a portion of a stop sign.
showing you 11L. What are you looking at there?
Stop sign that's been demolished.
I think we're at M, LM. Showing M. What are you looking at here? Can you tell?
It's very dark.
Here, I'll just hand it to you.
This is facing northbound as well. Looks like some demolished shrubbery, a bush that's been uprooted.
Showing you 11N, particularly this object in the middle of the grass.
Possibly vehicle component there.
11O.
I'm seeing some tire tracks also on the sidewalk with two vehicles that appear to have been in a car accident there.
11P.
The porch that was right in front of the Camaro that was destroyed.
Showing 11Q.
That is the parked vehicle that was in the driveway at the time of the collision.
11R.
The Camaro with severe front end damage.
11S.
Appears to be a photo of the license plate of the Camaro.
T.
And that appears to be the front clip area of the Camaro with heavy accident damage.
11U.
A standard police vehicle.
And when you say that it's a standard police vehicle, does it have lights and insignia for the Detroit Police Department?
Yes, it does.
And finally, 11G. What are we looking at here?
It appears to be the interior of the police vehicle, a Ford Crown Victoria.
Thank you. Let me take that one back to what you have, please. Now, as part of your investigation, were attempts made to determine if there was any video surveillance that caught any or were part of this investigation into the crash?
Yes, we had officers canvassed for that.
And showing you what's been, have you had an opportunity to review people's proposed exhibit number 10, video from one of those locations?
Yes, I viewed it.
And when it was retrieved, do you recall where it was retrieved from?
I believe at Warren and Nottingham, the store in the corner.
And what is it that this video purports to show?
It in fact shows a red Camaro traveling northbound in Nottingham, and then shortly after it, it shows a police vehicle.
Now, in terms of the video, were some efforts made to slow the video down?
Yes, there were.
So in people's proposed exhibit number 10, is there the actual video and then a second clip where it's slowed down and placed in slow motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it altered in any other way?
No, ma'am.
And does it, is it from the date and time in question on June 24th, 2015?
Yes, it is.
Move for the admission of people's proposed exhibit number 10.
No objection, Judge.
Thank you. It's admitted?
With permission to publish?
Yes.
Okay, Detective Weitzel, did you have an opportunity to review that?
Yes, I
And
did.
is that the version where it's slowed down?
That is the slow version, yes.
All right, so I'm going to go back and play it one more time. Is the area that we see here, is this Warren? This
Yes,
road
ma'am.
here at the top, and then this cross street would be Nottingham, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so then, playing it again. Go right back to the beginning, see if I can... Stopping it right there at 9 seconds in, could you describe what we can see up in the upper right-hand corner?
You can see the red Camaro having gone airborne coming through that intersection.
Objection. Objection. Objection, Your Honor. It's not depicted there. Unless you saw something going airborne on that thing. And it's at the top. I'd ask that his statement about...
I just need to come just a little bit closer
Sure.
because that red curve is very small. So I'm observing the red curve here. The front wheel and the front bumper is on the ground. The back wheels are up in the air.
I agree.
That's the court's observation.
Thank you.
Now, continuing on. What do we see there at 47 seconds?
Detroit police vehicle, scout car, traveling northbound of Nottingham.
Now, as the officer in charge of this case, did you have a conversation with Shalise Davis?
Yes, I did.
And did you... Okay. Showing you what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit number 14. Did you prepare this as it relates to Ms. Shalise Davis, or is that a...
Yes, I did.
All right. And what is that?
Objection. We object to the exhibit not being admitted. We object to the exhibit and its contents being explored. It's a hearsay statement and denies the defendant the right to confrontation if it is being used here for evidentiary purposes. I have no problem with the people describing to the court what that exhibit is and the court looking at it. Certainly,
Because
but
I
we
don't know
object
what
to
it
it.
is at
We
this
would
point.
object. So no problem with that. But
Okay.
I'm objecting to it in its entirety.
I would point the court to Rule 1101, Michigan Rule of
Can you
Evidence.
tell me what the document is first?
Sure, it's the hearsay exception that's being offered at preliminary exam to show that it was not the defendant who owned this vehicle and that the ownership was Ms. Shalise Davis, and that she had not given the defendant permission to use that.
See, here's the third problem.
I'm sorry, can I just...
Okay, no, excuse me. Sorry.
MRE 1101 indicates preliminary exams. At preliminary examinations in criminal cases, hearsay is admissible to prove with regard to property, the ownership, authority to use, value, possession, and entry. And so for those reasons, we move to admit People's Exhibit number 14, which specifically relates to all of those things: ownership, property, authority to use, value, possession, and entry.
It does not relate to permission. If a person has keys, they have the authority. They're operating it. They are trying to use that to establish the essential element of the offense as it relates to count 13 of the information. This willfully and without authority take possession of and drive away and take away or assist in or such party taking of possession or driving it away. In this particular case, there is no evidence. It cannot be used for these purposes to show that he did not have permission to drive that vehicle away, and that's what they're basing it on. Authority makes reference to actually a person's possessory interest in that vehicle, not the right to drive it. I argue that that is not sufficient to establish for our purposes that he was willfully and without authority operated that vehicle. I say it is not what the purpose of that rule is for, and there is no reason for Mrs. Davis to be here, not to be here, to testify to that. Nothing.
The document falls under the hearsay exception. I will determine whether or not it meets or satisfies any element of the case. And so I'm allowing it because it falls within the hearsay exception. And so I'll determine what weight will be given to it. I don't know what all is going to, but if it's ownership, authority, all the things that the court rule allows, the rules of evidence allow, then I am going to allow the document to be admitted. You may proceed.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, cross-examination. Well, counsel, did you move for the admission of
I
the
did, I moved
document?
for it, and I thought you said in your, that you were going to allow it, so I guess I would,
Well, you hadn't moved and
I
we
was
responded, but now, yes, it's admitted.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Barnett.
Officer, how are you?
Good, how are you, sir?
You indicated that you're a crime scene investigator.
Crash investigator, sir.
How long have you been doing that?
Approximately 7 years.
Ever certified as an expert in Wayne County Circuit Court at trial?
No, sir.
Do you consider yourself an expert?
No, sir.
Okay. Can we approach Your Honor on the
Yes.
issue of the lack of expertise?
Continue.
Officer, did you take these pictures?
No, sir.
Who took the pictures?
The evidence tech unit.
Was there a person in the evidence tech unit that took those photographs that you're aware of by name?
I would have to check the documents of who that person is, but yeah, person.
Is that something you can do rather quickly, by coming down here or something?
If I can look at the
Oh,
file.
please do. We just want to know the name of the evidence technician who took the pictures.
So just for the record, we've had sort of a little conversation here amongst the three of us, and I think we've decided that it's Officer David Andrews and evidence tech, civilian technician Christian Kerr, K-E-R-R, were from the evidence tech unit.
Satisfactory.
Okay, thank you. May continue.
Do you know when these photographs were taken in relationship to the accident time period?
Not an exact time period.
An approximation of how long were those pictures taken after the accident? Was it the same day, with an hour?
That's
all I need.
probably within an hour.
Did you yourself go to the scene?
Yes, I did.
When you went to the scene, did you arrive prior to any victims being removed?
Did I arrive prior to that? I'm sorry.
Prior to any victims that may have been injured being removed?
No, I arrived after that.
Okay. Do you know what time this accident took place, approximately?
I believe it was approximately between 7 and 8 o'clock, 7 or 8:30.
And can you approximate when you arrived?
Within about a half hour of it occurring, because we made pretty decent haste to get there when we heard about it.
Now, one of the exhibits makes reference to a red Camaro with a driver's, with a license plate on the back of the vehicle. Do you remember that document?
Yes.
Okay. That document has been marked as Exhibit 11S with the license plate DFG0132. Familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Now, you've been taking these. It's important in this type of investigation to determine whether there's damage to the vehicle, isn't it?
Yes.
Not just the front, but how about the sides and the back? Isn't that important when you're doing accident reconstruction or taking pictures to accurately reflect the scene? When you take a picture of the back of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a picture of the back of the vehicle in this group? Or do you simply have a picture that doesn't show the back of the vehicle?
I believe that does show the back of the vehicle.
The whole back. Oh, Bob, let me give you the exhibit. When I say back, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Look at that exhibit. Now that doesn't show the, let me just say the rear end of that vehicle, does it?
It shows the rear end, but missing the corners of the rear end.
Okay, the corners of the rear end. You can't tell whether that vehicle had rear end damage, can you?
From this photo, you cannot.
Okay. Can you give one rational explanation why somebody qualified to do accident reconstruction would not make a photograph that vehicle in order to determine whether there was damage other than to the front end? Can you, is that?
I didn't conduct the photographs, sir. I couldn't testify to why the accident or the evidence tech took the photos he did.
Oh, but if you were doing it with all your years of experience, you would have made sure that all parts of that vehicle were photographed, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir. That's what the evidence techs are for.
Okay. But that's not what the evidence techs did in this case, did they?
They normally provide us with excellent photographs of the scene.
Did they provide you with excellent photographs of the scene which showed 360 degrees of that vehicle, showing all damage to that vehicle? Wouldn't that be an excellent series of photographs going all the way around that vehicle?
There are several photographs in there.
Yes, there are.
That take a photo from the side and the front.
Really? May I see those photographs of that?
Sure, you can see your buttons. There's a couple of.
Oh, well, let me see the ones you didn't put out there. Excuse me, Your Honor. Well, no, I won't. So I'm going to show you these exhibits again. I want you to take a quick look at them. You tell me how many vehicles you have with that Camaro, including this exhibit. And once you got all of them spread out, you tell me whether or not those pictures are sufficient.
I'm sorry, whether or not they're sufficient is not an appropriate question for this witness, I object.
I withdraw that question. I won't. That's a fair objection. You said there were a lot of photographs. Please identify, if you would, quickly those photographs that depict the Camaro.
Did you want me to take them out?
Yes, please. And if you could identify them by the sub number on the back for the record when we get them all out. No. Thank you. Officer,
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to withdraw my question. People have a photograph of the full back end here that I didn't see. I withdraw the question, the whole series, and I'll take those exhibits back at this time.
Please do at this time.
I don't know if these were in order, but...
That's fine, sir. Thank you very much.
Here's your clip too, sir.
In the video, there was a Detroit Police Department motor vehicle that was depicted in the videotape. that was in the videotape that was
Yes, sir.
shown? You saw at the top there was a motor vehicle, police vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Do you know if there was a chase of a vehicle by officers of the Detroit Police Department?
The reports would indicate that, sir.
How many vehicles were chasing this car?
I don't know. To my understanding, it was one.
One. How fast was that police vehicle going?
I don't know, sir.
Let me see if I got this right. You got a pretty good idea about how fast that Camaro was going, don't you?
Yes, sir.
But you don't know how fast the police car was going.
No, sir.
Why not?
That wouldn't be an aspect of my investigation.
Wow.
That's an internal matter with the department.
A minute now. Police officers chasing a vehicle going at a high rate of speed is not your business?
Objection, there's been no evidence that the police car was going at a high rate of speed.
Sustained.
Do you have any evidence that a police vehicle was chasing the vehicle being driven at a high rate of speed? Anything in the police report that would suggest to you that the police vehicle was going at a high rate of speed as it was chasing the vehicle?
I don't believe so, sir.
You don't believe what?
I don't believe that there's anything in the reports indicating that they were going at a high rate of speed.
And based on your looking at, and based on the police reports, I know you're not an expert, were you able to, did you receive any information that might assist you in approximating how fast the Camaro was going?
That was directly done by Sergeant Lucidi of the State Police Department.
Do you, I know you're not an expert, do you have any information that led you to give you an idea how fast that vehicle's moving?
Yes, he downloaded the CDR box of the Camaro.
What information did you receive from other police agencies about the approximate speed of the Camaro?
It was well over 100 miles per hour.
No, this is a residential neighborhood, isn't it?
Yes, it is, sir.
Speed limit about 30, 35 miles an hour?
I believe 25.
25.
Nottingham. Yes,
So
sir.
let's see, if the police vehicle was not exceeding the speed limit, so what, we got a car chase with a police vehicle going 25 miles an hour and a Camaro going 100 miles an hour, and that's a car chase?
Objection, it's argumentative.
It's not argumentative.
Counsel, he's never testified that there's how fast, he can't testify as to how fast the car was going, so your question is argumentative. So I'm sustaining the objection. Your next question.
Sir, didn't you indicate that based on the report that you had, you couldn't determine how fast the police car vehicle was going, but you came to the conclusion that that police vehicle was not exceeding the speed limit, didn't you?
Objection, that's mischaracterization of what he says.
It's just a question, Judge.
Sustained. The way you asked it, you mischaracterized. There's no
Sir.
testimony on the record as to that. You may continue with your next question.
Based on the information that you obtained as officer in charge of this case, are you telling me you have no idea how fast a police vehicle would have been going at any point while it was pursuing the other vehicle?
No, sir.
Do you know if a police vehicle was pursuing that vehicle that Camaro? Do you know if there was a car chase?
Only what was indicated in the report, sir, the officer's testimony.
Okay, fine. Very well, sir. Now, did your information lead you to believe that some individuals, some children, had died or were severely injured?
Yes, sir.
Please listen to my question. Did the red Camaro come in contact with either of those children? Direct contact, if you know.
I believe so, sir.
Don't tell me what you believe. Do you have any reason to believe that, based on what? You said that's what you believe. You believe that that Camaro struck a person somewhere on that street?
Yes, indeed.
Did you examine the front end of that vehicle to find out whether or not there was any evidence of a person being struck by that vehicle?
The front end of the Camaro was extremely damaged.
I got that. You find any DNA, blood, those things that would clearly indicate contact with a person?
Me personally, no, sir.
Officer, are you suggesting that, do you know how the people got injured based on your information in this case?
Yes, the children were playing in the front yard, directly in the path of the travel of the Camaro. And then they were deceased after that point.
Were they struck?
Yes, sir.
Inside of the photographs and on the video, there were things that appear to be tire tracks. Did you make reference to the word tire tracks?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what tire skid marks are?
Yes, sir.
Those tracks, were you able to determine what vehicle they belong to?
Yes, sir. They come off of the Camaro
How do you know that?
because that's the path of travel that the Camaro took.
Is that the path of travel that the vehicle, the police car took?
No, sir.
Isn't there a way for you to evaluate the tires, take a look at the tracks, and determine scientifically whether or not the residue on that sidewalk belongs to the residue on those tires? You familiar with such tests?
I am, but that is something done in a laboratory.
So what'd you do, just eyeball it?
Excuse me, sir?
You just eyeballed it, did you?
No, I don't perform
Okay, fine.
those kind of tests.
Were those tracks only left by one vehicle?
Yes.
Would you describe those tracks as skid marks?
The ones on the sidewalk, yes.
Tell us what a skid mark is, please.
It's when the rubber on the tire, due to friction, rubs off onto the concrete.
Would the friction be resulted in the act of someone trying to bring that car to a stop by pressing on the brakes, causing friction with the concrete?
Yes, it could.
Well, now, if a person was operating a vehicle and made no effort whatsoever to decelerate or to stop it, there would be no skid marks, would there?
Unless it was yawing. Unless the vehicle was yawing or side slipping.
You saw no evidence of that, did you? You saw no evidence of that at all, did you?
No, just evidence that he was quite out of control.
Okay. You didn't see any evidence of that vehicle swerving and those skid marks representative of anything other than a linear path. Is that right?
That's correct.
Well, then, I know you're not an expert, but just being fair about it, didn't it appear to you that a vehicle jumped the sidewalk, ran down that sidewalk, and the friction was caused as a result of someone trying to press on the brakes and bring that vehicle to a stop? Wouldn't that be a fair assessment?
It could be that.
It
But
could be
there's
that.
other ways to make skid marks other than braking.
All right, well, okay. You know of any other one other than that?
There's acceleration marks.
Okay, you didn't see any acceleration marks. Assume I know something about it. You didn't see any acceleration marks, did you?
I don't know if they were from braking or accelerating.
Okay, fine. Clearly, you would agree, based on your common sense and everyday experience, that the person operating that vehicle at a high rate of speed either tried to press the brakes or accelerate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to speak to Mrs. Davis at the scene?
Not at the scene.
That report that was shown that I objected to that was admitted, did you prepare that report?
Yes.
And you did not talk to Mrs. Davis? Is that her name, Mrs. Davis? Madam Prosecutor?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, her name is Mrs. Davis.
You didn't talk to her?
Yes, I did talk to her, not at the scene.
Okay. And by talking to her, which is exhibit number 14, Your Honor, did you obtain that information from talking directly to her?
Except for the vehicle information there, she confirmed all of it, yes.
Was she in custody?
No.
Was she under arrest?
No, sir.
Did you advise her of any constitutional rights?
No, sir.
Sure.
I don't need to know specifically where she was at. Was she at a residence without telling me the location and all of that?
When that statement was reviewed with her,
Yes?
she was at headquarters, police headquarters at 1301 3rd Street.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Judge.
Okay, thank you, Detective. You are excused.
Judge, I need just about 2 minutes if I can.
Absolutely.
I need about 3 minutes, Your Honor.
Talking in the audience.
Two minutes, Judge? I gotta step outside and catch my breath.
Yes.
Still need some more time?
No, it's okay. I'm ready whenever you are.
We're ready.
Take a couple
Well, he
minutes.
needs to take a break. We all need, my client needs to relax for just about a second, about 2 or 3 minutes, if that's okay. Can we take a 3 or 4 minute break,
Now,
Judge?
you keep adding those minutes together, Mr. Barnett,
I
but
know,
let's go
I
ahead
know, a lot
and
of
take a 2 or
pressure.
3 minute break.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to the family of my client, Your Honor, real quick if they're outside. That's all.
Go right
I'll be
ahead.
right back, Judge.